Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the video. Let's discuss Nintendo's next generation console. I've also done this in an article as well, which goes into various sources. Primarily an analysis of the previous specifications of the Fusion and Fusion DS. But we've also got another set of rumours, and these ones come to us from Ashan Rashid. He's better known as Fuwei, and of course he is an infamous industry insider. Now, he stated that rumours are afloat that Nintendo's next generation hardware will function as a hybrid console and handheld, but I don't understand why. Then he adds, if such a platform exists, Nintendo will create something similar in specifications to possibly the Vita, and mobile tech still lags behind the Xbox 360/PS3 era visuals at 720p. So, this is a little bit odd, and we could do an analysis in several different ways. And indeed, the rumour can be taken in several different ways. One possible way is that it's going to be a little bit of an evolution on the 3DS. On the Wii U and 3DS. So, you know, this is my own personal speculation, by the way. This isn't Fuwei's, this is my own. But one possible piece of speculation is it's an evolution of the Wii U gamepad. So, away from the console, it acts like its own independent system, and this would be a little bit like, say, even Dreamcast's VMU as well. Of course, the VMU was very limited, it only had a few kilobytes of memory, but it could be an evolution like that. So, it would also make sense given the previous name of Fusion. Another possibility is that you bring it back and you plug it in to the mains, and obviously it's got more power because, well, it's being powered by, well, the mains, you know, your AC outlet, and therefore because of this it can run at higher speeds or has access to more modes or whatever, and of course has an HDMI output, and maybe it can be controlled in other different ways. Now, regarding to the GPU, Nvidia already have the K1 technology, which they've unveiled, and I've linked to this in the post, in the article, the analysis that I've already done this previously, and it's just under 400 G-flops. So that would put it above the Xbox 360 and PS3, technically, in terms of raw G-flops. It has some things it's slightly worse at, some things it's slightly better at, but let's say it's about that type of performance level. It's roughly on par with the Wii U. It's still going to mean it's significantly behind the PS4 and Xbox One. So even if you say that Nintendo aims to release this pure speculation in 2 years' time, and so let's say that the K2 comes out by then, or Nintendo know about the K2, assuming they use Nintendo, it could be anything, I'm just using this as an example, it means that they'd have about 700 G-flops to play with. So 700 G-flops, sorry guys, losing my voice just then, 700 G-flops would be roughly half the PS4 and Xbox One, and of course it really depends on if it's, say, ARM-based. They could be going at x86, but likelihood is that with such a system it would be ARM. And if it was, very strange. And with next generation engines coming out, so that would be like the new Unreal Engine, Frostbite engine, and so on and so on and so on. Snowdrop engine, of course, is going to be ridiculously taxing. The new Cry engine, which is always evolving. If you think about this, how will cross-platform titles run on the system? Poorly, no doubt. They would obviously have to run at lower resolution. So, for example, if the Xbox One version has to be toned down to, say, I don't know, 792p, from the PS4's like 900p, then imagine what further sacrifices if roughly the system has half the raw computational performance, the whatever the hell you want to call this thing. Let's just call it the hybrid for now. There's no official name or unofficial name that's been created, so I'm just going to call it the hybrid. Another possibility is that both the Fusion, both Fusions, that would be the Fusion Terminal and the Fusion DS, as well as this hybrid, are both ideas, right? So they're almost like design decisions that Nintendo are making, which is pretty infamous in the industry. For example, the Dreamcast, there was a couple of versions of the Dreamcast hardware originally floating about, the Black Belt and the Katana, and then they eventually went with one design over the other. The Saturn had a couple of different designs as well. Sony themselves mentioned with the PS4's development that they went with different kind of routes. They were exploring PowerPC again, then eventually they settled on x86. This is just how it works. I mean, the original Xbox, you can't say the Xbox One anymore, but the original Xbox, it's pretty infamously known that the developers of it, Microsoft, when they were first figuring out the specifications, they basically took apart laptops. And they were literally taking these laptops apart, throwing them on the table, hooking them up, just soldering bits and pieces towards each other, saying, okay, does this work? No, this is not quite our target specification. What about this? What about that? And they were literally just kind of interchanging the parts as required. My own personal take on this is I would much rather Nintendo continue to support the Wii U. You might have heard the news, Amata's covered it quite in depth anyway, that the Mario Kart 8 has massively boosted the Wii U sales. Now, obviously, that's only a temporary stop measure. It needs other games, right? They can't just be like, oh, okay, well, sales. Eventually, it's going to go down. It's just pretty simple stuff, right? It's like if there's a major plot happening on, like, the biggest TV show, you could see that the numbers go up. But if it's filler, viewers go back down. It's just how the industry works. So, long term, they do need to make sure that the Wii U continues to be a viable platform. I don't think they should rush things, however. Nintendo do have this history of innovation, but it's fair to say that all of their previous consoles, each one has sold inferior to the last, right? So the SNES sold better than the N64, and the N64 sold better than the GameCube, but the GameCube sold a lot worse than the Wii. The original Wii was the anomaly here. And then the Wii U has actually been selling worse than the original GameCube significantly. It's just like a downward spiral. Meanwhile, their mobile hardware, or rather their handhelds, have always sold pretty well. Obviously, they do fluctuate. That's not to say each one sells equally, but you can definitely see that they are surpassing. So maybe Nintendo are planning on leveraging that. It's very hard to know right now. And one thing that does concern me is, let's say that they do go this low power route. Let's say it has roughly a third of the power of the Xbox One. Now it's probably not going to be a big deal, but by the time the system's released, developers are no longer going to be focused on creating the lowest common denominator versions, which would be the Xbox 360 and PS3. Instead, they're probably just going to focus on PC, because, let's face it, it's a higher spec, and then they're going to create the PS4 and Xbox One versions, lowering the quality as required. So, oh, okay, this is for the Xbox One, let's change the amount of anti-aliasing, or this is for the PS4, let's adjust the resolution, or whatever they need to do. And so, there is definitely that consideration. Anyway, as I said, this is pure idle speculation. So, check the article if you want. I've linked a few bits and pieces, including Ashan's original tweets, and a very interesting state of affairs in my personal opinion. Anyway, I'll see you soon, take care, and bye for now.